Welcome to the House of Ascension podcast. My name is Jessica. I am your host. So excited and delighted that you decided to tune in today. Thank you for being here. We're going to get right into it, okay? I want to talk to you guys about my case. I'm not sure if you know or not, but the district judge made her final ruling in my case about a week and a half ago, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to talk to you guys about it. I want to talk about my experience throughout this whole process, my experience with my attorneys, how I feel about the judge's ruling, and what I plan on doing moving forward. So just a little background, and a lot of you guys have been with me since day one, so you already know this, but I'm still going to give a little background. 2017, I came out with my story about how I was assaulted at 15 by Leonard McKelvey, who is now a radio host. And so I came out with my story because, I wanted to tell my side of things. There were a lot of things said about me in books that were not true. And then a lot of hurtful things said on the radio that I felt like I needed to address. And so I did that. But then I also wanted to have my case reopened. I wanted to try to press the criminal charges against Leonard McKelvey. I did not have the opportunity to do that when I was 15. And so in 2017, I wanted to go ahead and have that case reopened. And, I wrote to a lot of the higher ups and, trying to figure out how I could do that, trying to figure out if it was even possible. And unfortunately, I got a response, and I was told that I could not reopen my case because Leonard McKelvey took a plea deal in the case, and because he took that plea deal, he could no longer be charged again. And so that was super disappointing. I definitely was not expecting that, but as disappointing as it was and as just heartbreaking as it was, I had to move forward. And so I wrote my book. I started my podcast, started the House of Ascension, 501c3 nonprofit. And I was moving forward, trying my best to still heal, even though I felt like it would be hard to do that without the legal justice. Because that's something I looked forward to. That's something I really, really wanted. I felt like at that time I needed to have that in order to be able to move forward. For me, that would have been closure, but of course I understand now that in life you don't always get that closure that you need. And so if you're in a situation where you're not going to receive that closure, you have to do your best to move forward. Otherwise, it's going to hold you back. All right, so in 2022, I decided that I wanted to try again. I wanted to see if I could get some type of legal justice, of course not criminally, but civilly. And this time I felt like I should, file a suit against iHeartMedia. I felt like they were definitely responsible because a lot of the things that were said, a lot of the hurtful things that were said on their platform. And so in 2022, I went ahead and I filed the documents to file this suit against iHeartMedia as well as Leonard McKelvey. But at this point, I was representing myself. I had a hard time finding an attorney to represent me at this point. Some attorneys that I spoke to, they were really pessimistic, and they just didn't want to get involved. And so I said to myself, I'm going to give this one more shot, and even if I have to fight alone, that's what I'm going to do. And so that's what I did. I was pro se for a few months, and it was definitely overwhelming, to be honest. I had to do a lot by myself. I had to research a lot. And then I also had to be present at the hearings between the magistrate judge, myself, and the defendant's attorneys. And that was super stressful and a little intimidating, if I'm being honest. I was in, the room representing myself, doing the very best I could. And, it's just an experience I've never had before. And I was definitely a little intimidated, but I got through it, with prayer and with just believing in myself and knowing that, God had my back and that I was strong and that I could face anything. I've already been through a lot. And, even though this was a tough experience, I could still get through it, And so that's how I was able to do that. But my hopes were that, in the process of me representing myself, that an attorney would see this and that, they would come in and help me, and that's exactly what happened. I represented myself maybe I'm not sure, maybe about 4 months, 5 months maybe. And then I had an attorney contact me and he said he wanted to help. He's an attorney based out of Texas. His name is Kevin. And he was amazing in the beginning. He was amazing. He knew about my story, but he didn't know, full details. And so I had to have a conversation with him on the phone several times just to give him, the backstory from the time I met Leonard all the way up until the present moment, And so when Kevin came in, he brought a team of attorneys with him. So it wasn't just him representing me. It was a group of attorneys based in New York, as well as an attorney. I believe she's based in California. Her name is Alex. And so this was great. I was really excited. And speaking with Kevin, he believed in me. He believed that he could actually win this case for me. And I was just feeling really blessed because I was so overwhelmed before, and I was feeling really blessed because this is exactly what I wanted. I was actually being represented by some really good attorneys. Kevin is a really good attorney. And so I was just so grateful for them. And I would always tell him how grateful I was, how thankful I was that he was, stepping up to help me. And so the first thing that Kevin wanted to do was he wanted to amend my complaint. The initial complaint that I had only included Leonard McKelvey, Charlemagne the God, and iHeartMedia, but Kevin wanted to add the publishing company as well. And so they were able to amend the complaint. The magistrate judge went ahead and gave the okay for that. And so in amending the complaint, not only did they add the publishing company, but they also added some other things to the complaint. It made the complaint definitely more solid. And after I reviewed the complaint, I was very satisfied with it. And so at this point, once they amended the complaint and they turned in those documents, the attorneys were just going back and forth, my side and his side. Then, they were just going back and forth. It was a lot of that for months, a lot of having to meet deadlines and get documents turned in. And there was a time where I realized that my team had missed a deadline. They were supposed to submit certain documents on Pacer and they did not. Now, it's important to note that I have access to Pacer. I have a Pacer account and I would go up there every day just to stay updated with the case. And this is something I was doing when I was pro se. This is how I knew what I had to turn in and what was due. And so I kept doing that even once I got representation. It was just something I like to do. I like to know what was going on. And if I had any questions, Kevin always told me, I could definitely just call him, text him, and ask him any question I had. He would be there for me. There was no issue with that. And that was the way that it was in the beginning. If I had any questions, he would always respond. But that slowly started to change. And around the time that I realized that they had missed this important deadline, I reached out to Kevin to talk to him about it, and I did not receive a response. And this was unusual for him, and so I decided to give him a little time to respond to my message, and he did not. And so I sent an email, I called, and I got nothing. And I was a little frustrated by that. But, I fell back and I said, well, their attorneys, they're busy. They have a lot going on. Let me just let them do what they know how to do. And so I fell back. And, even though they missed that deadline, they were still moving forward with other things, and the attorneys are still going back and forth. But in reading some of the documents online on Pacer, there was something that I wanted some clarity on. And so I reached out to Kevin once again, and I did not get a response. And at this point, it is getting a little frustrating because it's like, how do you go from being so helpful and, being so, just ready and able to answer, or ready and willing to answer any question I had in the beginning, but now I can't even get in contact with you. And so I was really frustrated by that. And so he did finally answer my call. This was after trying to get in contact with him for over a month. And no luck with that. He did finally answer my call one day, and he told me that he was now a judge. And so since he's a judge now, of course, he has other responsibilities. And so that's why he wasn't able to get in contact with me. He said he was super busy. He did apologize, but he said he had a lot going on. And of course, I understand that. But at the same time, you have an obligation. I signed a contract with you. You are my attorney. You're my representation. So regardless of what else is going on, it's your job to make sure that all my questions are answered, and to make sure that you're representing me, the right way. Make sure that you're representing me to the best of your ability, right? And so he told me on the phone, he said, well, I'll call you Wednesday. I believe this was a Monday I talked to him. He told me I will call you Wednesday and I'll answer any question that you have. And I said, okay, that's great. And then Wednesday came and went, and nothing. He never called. And at this point, I wasn't really sure what to do. The attorneys in New York, I had never had any dialogue with them, never spoke to them, never met them or anything. I just knew that they were helping. And so I didn't reach out to them. And Alex, although I spoke to her, I only spoke to her a couple of times, and I was on the phone with her and Kevin on three-way. And this is when I had to explain to them the details and like the backstory and everything. And so I never really spoke to Alex on my own. I would always go to Kevin. He always told me if I needed anything, if I had any questions, that, he would help me and he would answer all my questions, and told me I didn't have to contact the other attorneys in New York. And that's what it always was. And so when he was not responding, I wasn't really sure what to do. And so I just, once again, took a step back and let things play out. At this time, the back and forth between the attorneys, it had stopped. And we were now just waiting for the magistrate judge to make her recommendations on the case. And now this took about 8 months. So it was 8 months of no movement, no nothing. We were just at a standstill. We were just waiting on the magistrate judge. During this time, I hadn't heard from anyone, none of my attorneys. Not a phone call, not an email, nothing. And Kevin, he never got back to me. And so at this point, I just decided to focus on other things. I didn't want to let it consume me. I didn't want to let it take over my life and think about it too much. And so I decided to focus on, my healing, of course, and then other hobbies and my family and just things of that nature. I did my best to not focus on it. And this happened for about 8 months. I stopped checking Pacer and everything. I just, focused on other stuff. And so, August, my birthday was in August. I went out of town. I came back on the 15th, I believe. And on the 16th, I went on Pacer. I don't know why. I just said, let me just check. It's been months since I checked. Let me just check Pacer and see what's going on. And so I checked Pacer and I saw that the magistrate judge issued her report and recommendation on the case. And so basically what happened was the magistrate went through all of the documents and, our argument against the defendant's argument. And the magistrate judge decided that it would probably be best to go ahead and dismiss the case. That was her recommendation. She said basically that all of my claims were time barred. So it wasn't that, she didn't believe me. In fact, she made sure that she stated in her recommendation just how severe my case was and how severe my claims were. And she also stated that if it had not been for my claims being time barred, that she would definitely move the case forward into deposition. And this is what she said on the documents. And I'll go ahead and make those documents available to you guys. But this is what the magistrate judge said. However, because the claims were time barred, it wasn't really much that she could do. But she was giving us another chance. She said that she would allow us time to go ahead and file another claim. But the only difference with this claim is that anything that we are alleging, whether it's defamation or whatever, it would have had to occur in the past 2 years. And that is the only way she'd be able to move forward. So she was giving us 2 weeks to get those documents together and submit that complaint. And so this is what I understood from reading the documents on Pacer. Now, at this point, I hadn't even talked to my attorneys. I found all of this out by going online. And so once I read this, I went ahead and contacted Kevin. And I was like, okay, I hope that he responds because this is super important. And I contacted Kevin, I believe it was via text. And he told me that he would call me. He did not call me. Instead, he had Alex call me. And so Alex called me, I want to say maybe a day or 2 days later, if I'm not mistaken. And, I told Alex, I said, well, I went on Pacer. I read the magistrate's recommendations and I told her basically what I gathered, like my interpretation of what the documents meant or what was said. And she told me that was correct. She said the magistrate judge is giving us another opportunity, but that this time, the claims for defamation, they had to have occurred within the past 2 years. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, if this is what it is, this is going to be difficult because, once I came out in 2017, there was a huge shift in Charlemagne's energy and in the way that he portrayed himself. He was no longer saying, disgusting things on the radio and on podcasts. He cleaned up his act. He did a lot of damage control. And so I told myself it was going to be really difficult to, to find something that was said in the past 2 years. And so I started to lose a lot of hope. But Alex told me not to worry about it. She said she was real confident about it and that she was going to start working on it, on the claim. And I was like, okay, I'm going to fall back once again and let you handle it. I don't know at that point what Kevin was doing as far as my case goes. I don't know if he was working with Alex behind the scenes or if he wasn't working with her at all. I really honestly don't think he was working with her at all. And he had never spoken to me about anything in regards to my case again after that last phone call I had with him. So I really believe that Alex was working on her own. I don't even think that the New York team was working with her. They could have been. I'm not sure. But the communication was so poor from my attorneys to me that I don't know what was going on at this point. But the only person I was speaking to was Alex. And so I was putting my faith in Alex. And she told me not to worry. She said that, she still had faith as well. She still believed that, we could win this. And I said, okay, All right. So she had to file that new claim, within 2 weeks. And she went ahead and filed the claim. And so now we had to sit back and wait for the district judge to make her ruling. The magistrate judge, she makes her recommendation to the district judge, and then the district judge has the final say. And so I was super duper nervous. I think it took like 2 weeks for the district judge to make her final ruling. I was super duper nervous. I kept praying, and I was like, oh my God, I just hope that things work in my favor. I really hope that the district judge gives me a chance. I really hope she gives me a chance. And I checked Pacer, and the district judge made her final ruling on my case. It was a lot said, in the documents, and I saw that she did say that she was dismissing the case, but then there were also some things that were said that led me to believe maybe she was dismissing some of it and not all of it. There was a part in the documents where she says some of the claims were rejected in part and then adopted in part. And so, to me, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, so she's dismissing certain claims but allowing others. That's what I thought it meant. But of course, I was like, okay, I need to get clarity on this, before I get too excited, because I wasn't sure if she was dismissing everything in its entirety or just dismissing certain things and allowing other things. And so I called Alex, and I told her, I said, hey, I went on Pacer, and the district judge went ahead and ruled on the case. Did we lose? Like, what exactly does her ruling mean? I just need some clarity. And she told me, she said, I'm going to call you tomorrow at 10 a.m. so we can discuss it. I think she said that she had just talked to Kevin about it, and that she would call me. They both would call me the next day at 10 o'clock so we can discuss it in detail. And so I was like, okay, and I couldn't wait for 10 o'clock the next day to get here, because I was really like ready to hear, what the ruling meant, and, if we were going to move forward. And so the next day came, and 10 o'clock came, and then 11 came, and then 12, and then 1, and then so on and so forth. And I did not hear anything from Kevin. I did not hear anything from Alex. And so a couple of days went by, and I was on Google, and I was just, trying to just figure out exactly what the ruling meant. That term of certain things being rejected in part and adopted in part, I Googled that to see what it meant, and, just trying to get an understanding. I have a friend who is in the legal field, and throughout this whole process, he had, kind of been helping me out and just giving me a better understanding of what certain things meant. And I reached out to him, and he's very, very, very busy, and so I don't like to bother him too much, but I reached out to him because it was like, for me, it was like, okay, my attorneys are not responding, so I have to, talk to someone about this so they can just let me know what this means, so I can know if we're moving forward, or so I can just let this go and move on with my life. And so I reached out to him, and it took him one day. I reached out to him via email, and it took him one day to respond to me. I sent him the judge's ruling. I sent him a PDF file, sent it to him, and he reached out to me the next day, I believe. And we had a conversation on the phone, maybe about less than 10 minutes. And he told me, he said that he reviewed the documents, and he said, unfortunately, the district judge's ruling is to dismiss all of your claims, dismiss the entire case, and to close this case. He said, of course, I could appeal, but then that's the whole process, and then there's money involved in that, and then more time and just waiting and things of that nature, and then I would have to get new attorneys and stuff. But yeah, he said that the judge, her final ruling was to dismiss my case. And I was definitely crushed. I was super emotional in that moment because I was, holding on to hope and just really holding on to that one statement that I read in the documents in her final ruling where it said rejected in part, adopted in part. But, that didn't mean anything, she was still dismissing my entire case. And so after having a conversation with him, of course, I thanked him for everything that he had done throughout the process because, like I said, he was someone that, I would go to sometimes for, just certain things. And I thanked him for giving me that clarity that I needed in regards to the ruling. And we hung up and I had a moment. And, I think I felt really disappointed. I was disappointed in the ruling, of course, but I was really disappointed in my legal team. The communication was great in the beginning, but, towards the end of things, it just was horrible. There was little to no communication at all. I feel like, Kevin becoming a judge definitely played a huge role in all of that. He definitely was not as invested in my case as he was in the beginning, and so that really, disappointed me. I don't know if things would have turned out differently, had my attorneys, did what they were supposed to do and, didn't miss any deadlines and, were really fully engaged in my case. I don't know if things would have turned out differently, but, at least I could say, my attorneys did the best that they could. I don't feel like I could say that right now. I really don't. And so that is super disappointing. I still have not heard anything from Kevin or Alex. I did reach out to Alex one last time, and this was right before I reached out to, my friend who is in the legal system. This was right before I reached out to him. I texted Alex and, I said, hey, I didn't hear from you. I just, want to know, did we win this or did we lose? Because for me, the statement that was made in the ruling where the judge said rejected in part and adopted in part, it threw me for a loop. Like I said earlier, I thought that, maybe we had a chance with that. And so I just wanted Alex to tell me, is that what that meant? And she wouldn't even do that. She said that she wanted to go over, the judge's rulings a little bit more, and then she would get back to me and we could talk about it. So that's that. I did not respond back to her after she sent me that message. I was pretty much done. I was done at that point. And so, I decided, okay, it's time to move on from this. I was being really hard on myself. Once I got confirmation that my case was dismissed, I was being super hard on myself. I was like, I can't believe I lost. I lost. And I had to remind myself, okay, nothing can be done criminally. Nothing can be done civilly, So on the legal side of things, yes, it is a loss. But, Jessica, you have gained so much throughout this whole process. And not just throughout the court process, but this whole process as a whole, ever since 2017, you have gained so much and you have so many wins. So you need to focus on that, I think a lot of times when, we want things to turn out a particular way and they don't turn out the way that we want them to, we tend to forget about, the other victories that we've had, the other successes. We don't focus on those. We just focus on the loss. And I think that, if you have a shift in perspective and you're able to see the situation as a whole, you can appreciate it better, and you can say, okay, yes, in this aspect, I may have taken an L, I may have lost, but there are so many other aspects and so many other areas where I am winning, and just focus on that. And that's what I intend on doing with this situation. I will not be appealing at all. It has taken a lot of me energetically, emotionally, mentally, to go through these past 2 years, and I don't want to repeat that. I feel like it's time to let this go, at least legally. There's so much that I can do with my time and with my energy, devoting it to my podcast, of course, devoting it to helping people, to volunteering, you know what I mean? There's so much positivity I can put out there into the world, and so much I can do to change lives, so I don't want to keep putting energy into a situation that is going to take from me, I don't want to feel depleted, and that's kind of how I've been feeling with this whole court situation. But I am so proud of myself and what I was able to do, from getting on different platforms and speaking about my experience and my life growing up and the assault, to representing myself in court. Who would have thought? You feel me? So I am proud of Jessica. I'm proud of me, and losing this case does not take anything away from me as a person. It does not change who I am. It's not going to change my future, in a negative way. If anything, it just gave me more fuel to want to keep on going forward, So I can honestly say that I am okay with the ruling, and I have accepted it for what it is, and I'm just going to keep moving forward. Before I end, I would like to say thank you to my supporters. There were a few of my supporters who would hit me up on Instagram and tell me about Pacer updates before I even knew about them. And y'all know exactly who y'all are. And I appreciate you guys so much. I really do. You guys are just so amazing. And then also some other people who were, just really supportive behind the scenes. You guys know who you are. And I appreciate you as well. I'm going to go ahead and close it out now. Thank you guys for listening today. I do want to say this. For me, it's important to be able to forgive and to move forward and to not hold any grudges or to not be upset with people. Because I feel like you miss out on opportunities and blessings when you do that. So me having this conversation with you guys was not, done maliciously or to bash anyone. This is simply me just saying what I experienced. I don't have any ill feelings towards, the attorneys that represented me. But, I definitely had to talk about what I went through, and I always believe in speaking your truth, no matter who gets upset about it or, no matter who doesn't like it, and that's something I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And I encourage everyone to do that, always speak your truth, and don't let anyone take that away from you. So yes, we're going to close it out. I'm about to go do some research because we have a very interesting topic that we're going to talk about next time. I'm going to talk about hypersexuality and trauma, and I'm really excited to talk about that. So make sure that you tune in for our next episode. So I'm going to do some research on that topic for a little bit, and then after that, I'm going to head out to the pumpkin patch because it's fall and it's my favorite season. Well, one of my favorite seasons. My other one is spring, but I absolutely love fall. The weather is beautiful today, and so I'm going to go out there, get some pumpkins, eat some food, go through the corn maze, and just have a good time and, live in the moment and be grateful for what I have, because I have a lot to be grateful for. And, make sure that however you choose to spend your day today, that you are also grateful and that you are also living in the moment. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will talk to you next time. Bye.